Welcome to the Qualified Tutor podcast. I'm your host, Ludo Miller, and I'll be interviewing tutors and thought leaders from across the tutoring landscape to inspire, inform, and motivate you to become the best tutor you can be. The Qualified Tutor community is a safe and supportive space for tutors who love to learn and grow. We offer training, resources, ideas, and a chance to connect with like-minded tutors. If you'd like to continue the conversation, join our Qualified Tutor community at www.qualifiedtutorcommunity.org or find it in the show notes. Welcome to this week's episode of the Qualified Tutor podcast. Some of our favourite conversations here at Qualified Tutor involve talking to those course graduates who have completed the qualification for tutors. Today we'll be speaking to our most recent cohort of participants, having just finished the final workshop where we give an overview of special educational needs and disabilities, mental health and wellbeing in tutoring. It's been another fantastic cohort and really one where the engagement levels of the participants has gone up a notch. This has been our first cohort where we have had tutors from independent agencies join us, and in fact we've had tutors from multiple agencies in the course alongside independent tutors and most importantly Sutton Trust alumni through our Sutton Trust Alumni Scholarship. It's been a huge amount of fun, as it always is, and myself, Julia and Adrian have really learned a great deal about the delivery and the content of our course. Joining us today in the cohort is Dolan Heaney, Richard Ashelford, Joe McKinney, Lucy Irving, Tanu Chaturbedi, Georgina Laye, Daniel Dipper, Zainab Alshubbar, Saidu Kamara, Iqra Butt, Tom Seddon, Kathryn Rouse, Nazia Ismail, Wendy Onslow, Kumudini Amaradasa, Sija Manoj Kumar, Lakshmi Kulkarni, Kavya Bose, Dana Musa, Amanda Cremona, and Carol Shaw. We feel this is the first cohort that has truly engaged with the Qualified Tutor community space, which you can find at qualifiedtutorcommunity.org. Inside there are multiple conversations and circles cropping up, including those for tutors to gather resources and those which will be collating information and advice regarding the National Tutoring Programme. There is also our newest group, which is titled the Fast Track Recruitment, in which tutors and independent agencies can meet and connect in order to provide a safe space for agencies to find qualified and vetted tutors and for tutors to find the agencies that are right for them. Take it away, Adrian.
So one of the things, I'll just give you a little bit of time just to think through the learning that's taken place over the last 4 weeks, and also what things are you going to take away that you're going to apply and use. Before we do that, let me just tell you a little story, and this is a true story. This is about me, and I just want to pick up on the information that we looked at earlier with Ken Robinson. So when I was a child, I've got two older brothers, and when I was a child, I was very hands-on, very practical. My subject is design technology. I've taught engineering and such like. So I'm very hands-on, very practical. And I've got two older brothers. And my parents would quite often say about me, they would say, "Oh, Adrian's very, very practical." And actually, what I took that as, Adrian's not quite as bright as the other two children. That's not how it was meant to be. That's not what they intended. But just that one sentence that they said maybe 45 years ago has stuck with me for most of my life. And let me just tell you how that one sentence has shaped my life and how Ken Robinson's work fits into that. So when I was in my teens and I started to think about careers and jobs and those sorts of things, I decided that I would go on to do my A-levels, and then eventually I decided that I would do my degree. And my parents were incredibly surprised that I was going to do my degree, because they thought I would go into sort of the building trade or joinery or carpentry or whatever it might be. So I went to university, and I felt that the thing that motivated me was I felt that I needed to prove something to somebody. I didn't know quite who I was proving it to. I think it was possibly myself. But I went to university, and when I finished university, I then went on to do my master's. And when I finished my master's, I started, and by this point I was in my mid-30s, I started the first 3 years of a PhD. And at the end of the third year, I paused partly because my daughter was about 18 months old, and it's not a good time to be doing a PhD when you've got an 18-month-old. And I paused and I thought, why am I doing this PhD? It was 9 years of study. And I thought, why am I doing this PhD? Is it for me, or is it to prove something to somebody else? And actually, I decided at that point that I was as bright as my older brothers, and I didn't need to prove anything to anybody. So when I went into teaching, my driver really was about looking for every aspect of every child and just seeing if I could develop them and bring them on and hopefully give them a start in life. So when I was in school, one of the things I did was I introduced vocational courses. So we did horse care, we did hair. I was responsible for hair and beauty, believe it or not, I know. And we did motor vehicle, we did all sorts of things, everything you can imagine, just to give people life chances. And that was the work of Ken Robinson that allowed me to do that. Okay, so that's one of the things in terms of my learning, that's one of the things I would take away. And that's really shaped my whole thinking in terms of my educational philosophy. So what's your learning from the last 4 weeks? What things have you picked up on from the last 4 weeks?
My big takeout is the why I'm doing, and that was the question before we even started all the course. And it's strange enough, it's really changed my thought of where I want to go. Since I gave up working in a school last year, I've, luckily initially was working still with students from that school, and much of it was sort of tailored towards passing an entrance exam to their next school in Bedford, because we have a big private system here, and it was a private school I worked at. So even though some of my background is all SEN, and it is, that skill was being used, and I just realised through doing this that actually it is my passion, and I've always gone with the most challenging people and the most challenging out of those, because some of them, they weren't necessarily have a difficulty, they were just delayed because they were so young. It was about catch up to get them through their entrance exams. Whereas, and so I would always pick probably the boys, because I've got 3 girls myself, but that were the most challenging to work at. And I think working in the secondary school for 4 months earlier this year really highlighted what I can bring to the table with what I know. And I think my why through this has actually, that's not what I want to do anymore. I want to use the skills that I have in dealing with disadvantaged and SEN kids. So that's been a really, really big thing through
that's
this.
That it's focused you on that, it's looking at why and thinking about what is it is really focused on, which is brilliant, isn't it? That's really
no, absolutely. And I mean, I can have the same kind of story with you as you have. I mean, I left school at 16 with not a lot. I ran out of school, I hated it, and and I completed my MA 3 years ago. And it was like, why am I doing this? Because it wasn't like I wanted to be a qualified teacher or because working with loads of kids just doesn't appeal to me at all. And it was actually because I needed to prove to myself to therefore have the confidence to prove to the outside world, actually, do you know what? I've got this. And I needed that because I left school with not a lot at the age of 16. So, since I've been in education for 12 years. And I just, I had 10 years out being with my girls when they were younger. And I just found something that I just clicked with and just really passionate. And the more, like I said, all the SEM bit was I love it. I absolutely love it.
Mm.
And therefore, because of that passion, it made me want to study it. Whereas, you know, at school, I was one of those that would have had the vocational courses, you know, learning typing at the time.
Yeah.
And all of that. So again, it's also finding for those pupils what they're good at and what they can bring to the table.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love that.
That's great. And it's great that it shaped your thinking. I'm really pleased about that. Dolan, what?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, basically learning about my own development throughout the course as well. And believe it or not, the last week's course actually opened my eyes a lot towards the toolbox that I didn't actually know that I had. I started cooking at a very young age. It was probably about 11 years of age. So at 16, I was actually running a brigade of chefs. And by the time I was 19, I had my own business, but I didn't actually realize how much tutoring I've done throughout my life. So the course has actually like really garnered what I've been at for the past 25 years. I know I don't look that age right enough, you know, and also the way that I've wanted to share my knowledge that I have now with up and coming young chefs as well, and the way that I can get through to them in the different ways and the different approaches that I would have with different people. It's something that you guys have actually really bolstered inside my toolbox as well. And I want to thank you for it. It's been really enjoyable. Thank you very much.
Me too.
That's great. That's great to hear. Yeah, thank you very much for that. Yeah.
Can I just come in there?
Yeah, please do, Richard. Yeah.
Yeah, years ago when I was in my early 20s when I was in the civil service, and I did a series of training courses, and somebody said to me, "That's the last training course you need to do." And I thought, oh, fantastic. I was about 23, and I thought, I never need to do another training course. And you know something? I don't think I've ever stopped. And since I did my degree when I was about 60, no, about 58. And for this particular course, I just said to my wife, do you think I should have a go at this and see if I'm doing the job right? I've been doing it 15 years, but do you think I should just see if I'm doing it right? And by and large, I am. But I think there's quite a few tweaks that I can make as a result.
We're always learning, aren't we? You know, and as Dolan says there, you know, he's got his toolbox and he's got some things in it, but that toolbox can just get bigger and more full as time goes by. Really, you know, we're always. I mean, I've been in education for this is my 33rd year in education, and you know, you still learn an awful lot all the time. Every single day, you learn something new. Thank you for that, Richard. That's really, really good. Any other insights into your learning or things that observations, things that you might just want to mention to us?
Yeah, I'd like to jump in here quickly to say, you know, I've come from quite a unique background as such, being a lighting tutor, which is, of course, quite a practical industry. And it's not the first thing that you'd think of as being a tutor, but actually I think it's been very useful kind of seeing how actually a lot of the approaches I've been using, I didn't even realise match so well with what you'd use across a lot of subjects. And I think that's really useful. It's just reaffirming actually, you know, a lot of these methods that you don't, you know, self-consciously pick up on, you are actually using. And as I say, just how transferable these skills are, because I've done lighting, but actually I'm very into my history. And I feel a lot of the things and the techniques I actually use there could directly apply straight across, which I think is really, really good.
Yeah, I think the skills are transferable, aren't they? You know, good practice is good practice, no matter what the subject is, really. That's really important. Yeah. Any other points that people want to raise?
I'd like to go.
Yes, please do. Yeah, Tanu?
All right. So as a bright new person to the world of tutoring, I had no idea what I was doing or what to expect. All I was thinking, tutoring, a part-time casual job. But doing this course, oh my God, tutoring is way more than that. That's what I've realized with this one, that tutoring is one of the most complex things in the world. You have to understand so many different things, so many different concepts, and treating everyone as an individual. I just thought, oh, it will be classroom learning, but no, you really have to focus on that individual. So yeah, wow,
But the
tutoring.
good news is, Tanu, that many of the things that we talk about, we naturally do as human beings anyway. You know, it's like Dolan was saying earlier about, you know, he throughout his whole, you know, chefing career, he's been tutoring, but he's not been realizing that he's tutoring, you know. So we naturally want to develop other human beings and bring them on. And it's, you know, so a lot of it happens subconsciously and a lot of it happens and we're not even aware of it. But that awareness can help us enhance it in some ways. Yeah, thank you for that. It's a really nice contribution. Any other points?
So I found it really useful so I'm a trained teacher for a few years now, and actually for me to I guess the experience I've always had or the view I've always had of tutoring is that it's always been kind of like a bit of an add-on, so something people do on the side, or perhaps something which is, you know, which someone might do in school for, you know, a few hours a week, but it's seen as, you know, not a, dare I say, an essential part of what's going on in school. Yeah. And what I found really useful is actually how, you know, tutoring can be used as an asset in school, but it only works if it's used as part of like the school as a whole. So, you know, if you have got a tutor in school or you are using your tutoring techniques, then the actual kind of tutor needs to feel part of the whole school team, and almost kind of like, I guess, a line practice really. And that's the one thing what's come out of this is how there are so many, you know, different ideas, but so many practices that we all seem to have are also all the same as well. And especially lots of the things which I've been doing, which I wouldn't have necessarily said were tutoring, you know, perhaps are. And what's been so great about this course is it's kind of, I suppose, giving a broader view really of what a tutor is and what a tutor can do, which I think perhaps, you know, was a little bit, I think I undervalued tutors probably before this course, and actually thought that perhaps tutoring wasn't as, particularly talking to tutors who do it, you know, full time, except during this course actually. I probably thought it was a little bit of a, you know, a secondary thing which people do as, you know, like a part-time bit in their lives, but actually seeing how, you know, they've I suppose made a career out of it, and actually realising, you know, the range of skills they've got, it has really, you know, raised the value that I see in tutoring, which is definitely the most useful thing I've got out of it.
Thanks, Tom. I think that's true, isn't it? You know, there's a lot of people don't understand tutoring. And I think what the National Tutoring Programme will do is it will raise awareness of what you guys do, and it will bring it to the fore. You know, people will understand it much better, and that can only be a good thing, really. So, yeah, thank you for that. That's a really good contribution. Any other points?
Hi. So, what I was thinking was just, it's kind of funny how, like, with teaching, you have years of actual courses, and then you have lots of different sort of meetings and training before you actually become a proper teacher. But with tutoring, all you really need is good communication skills and a way to understand with students and being on the same level as them and connecting with them, and also be able to share knowledge. But people don't understand, with tutoring, you also do need training, you know. I've been tutoring for about 2 years now, but I haven't had this sort of training on safeguarding or even mental health. And I really thought this specific session was so useful, because from all the statistics, you can see how alarming it is, really, like how often like people may have mental health problems as well. So I think having this sort of training for tutors, it should actually be mandatory, because not only is it a good basis for tutors who are new to the whole tutoring experience, but it's also important for tutors to make sure the way that they're performing and the way that they're teaching is up to the perfect standard, or the best standard it could be. Because at the end of the day, like, clients are paying you and students are expecting you to provide the best sort of knowledge and the best sort of tutoring experience that you can possibly give. So yeah. And I think on this platform, especially because we've been exposed to so many different types of tutors, so many different types of people with different experiences, but also tutors from different ages, backgrounds, and also new tutors and experienced tutors. It's been a platform where I could really learn from other people, but also share my experience as well. So that I feel like as a cohort, like we can actually move forward as a tutor, but know that we've gained so much knowledge from here.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the collaborative learning is very powerful, isn't it? You know, working as a team and working together and learning from each other and discussing things, really. And you know, that's in many ways that's a skill that you will use with your tutors as well. You know, and develop their thinking as well.
Like the breakout rooms. Sorry, even the breakout rooms, we were able to like discuss more with like a closely knit sort of a group of people, and each week will be different people. So I'm getting exposed to different sort of ideas as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there's some good takeaways there.
And now, a brief word from our founder, Julia Silver.
If you'd like to hear more about the ideas we touch on here, or gain the tools to take your own tutoring to the next level, the qualification for tutors could be for you. This live online seminar is facilitated by industry experts who, over 4 Zoom workshops, will cover the foundations of teaching and learning and how it relates to you as a tutor. The workshops are full of rich discussions where you'll learn alongside other tutors and connect on a professional level. We will teach you how to be the kind of tutor every child remembers. Visit our community space at qualifiedtutorcommunity.org and sign up now for our transformative course. We'll see you there.
One of the things that the National Tutoring Programme is going to focus on is about disadvantaged children, you know, disadvantaged children who may have fallen behind in their education because of COVID and such like. A number of you on here have scholarships from the Sutton Trust, and the Sutton Trust, of course, is very, very focused on disadvantaged children. So can anyone tell me how the course might have helped in terms of developing and enhancing the learning of disadvantaged children?
I'd love to go on this one.
Georgina, yeah.
So I am a Sutton Trust scholar, but I mean, I come in from a background where most of my work comes through pupil premium funding anyway, through schools. And I mean, my own background is sort of, I mean, I've been very lucky educationally. You know, I sort of did the sort of very traditional path, A-levels, university, postgraduate. And one of the things that's been really fascinating about the one-to-one environment with disadvantaged pupils is actually the space that they get in that one-on-one situation from tutoring is completely, they aren't used to being listened to. Quite often the students that will find themselves being tutored by you are the ones that are sort of shunted to the back of the classroom, quite often in a class of 32, perhaps a bit of an inconvenience, or they're in that middle ground between a sort of 4 and a 5. And giving them that opportunity to be the individual and giving them a space where their voice counts is so important. And it's fascinating here to hear everybody's voices. It's one of the beauties of tutoring, is that actually as educators, we get to be individuals. It's brilliant to read the tasks and to just see, actually, everybody's got a different style. And if I tried to be somebody else, they'd see right through it. Students are brilliant at that, and they call you out if they know that you're affecting a personality. They really do call you out. So that genuine relationship is absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, there's a couple of things there, isn't there? I mean, you know, any form of teaching is about you and your personality, and you know, people are just effective in different ways, and I think that's really important. I think a really crucial point you've made, though, is about the voice of disadvantaged children, because quite often what you will find with disadvantaged children is that the social skills that they have don't allow them to speak up, or they don't feel confident in speaking up, or they don't have the ability to speak up in the same way. They're not quite as articulate as other people might be. And I think, you know, the tutoring gives them that voice where someone will sit with them and will listen to them and will support them and help them. You know, when the words get all mixed up or they feel a bit awkward, there's someone there that's on their side that will support them. And that's a lovely thing to do. And actually, Not that you necessarily see the results of that, but you will be changing people's lives. And I think that's so important. And if only we could see the results of what we do, I think we'd be quite, certainly quite surprised and certainly very emotional, I would imagine. Thank you. Thanks, Georgina. Any other points there that people would like to raise about, particularly about disadvantaged children or any other issues at all, really? And I think we'll probably...
Yeah, I'm going to jump in again to say that actually I got a scholarship through the Sutton Trust to do this course, and I'm so glad that I did, because as I say, it's really opened my eyes to a lot of practice. In terms of kind of tutoring as such, the only time I ever had a tutor was actually through a program that offered a free tutor because of, where I'd gone to school and because it was a disadvantaged area. And I mean, for me, that was life-changing in terms of they helped me apply to Oxford. I've got the place there now, and literally I'll be going there this weekend. But I'd say that tutor enabled me to get there. And I think that actually tutoring is such a powerful tool for doing that. And I think, I've actually written a blog for the Sutton Trust on this. The disadvantage gap, I mean, this year, the report for last year, it's stalled, and COVID is only going to make it wider. And I think, tutoring is going to be such a powerful tool if we want to tackle that. And that's not just for COVID. I think that's more generally, because as I say, the disadvantage gap by age 16, it's, 18 months, which is, it's nearly like they haven't been at school for 2 years, which is absolutely crazy. But the only way we're going to do that is actually by giving them that personalised support and by tailoring the experience to them. And as I say, I think tutoring is definitely the tool to do that. And we have got to look at ways of making it more accessible.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're a perfect example, Daniel, there of somebody who's benefited from the tutoring system, and continues to benefit others through the tutoring system. So what goes around comes around, isn't it, really? Absolutely superb. Yep. Paying it forward, I think, Julia, you would say, wouldn't you? Yeah. Okay, any final points? And then I'll hand over to Julia for wrapping it up. Okay, Julia, over to you.
Hey, so I guess it's my go. I'm going to spare you the soppiness, but this is definitely the best 20 minutes of the 4-part session for me, because this is where we see what really happened over here. And, Adrian says that we would feel very emotional seeing our students and the change that we've made in them. Hearing that from you, I don't know if you've noticed, I work about 23 hours a day on QT in addition to having a job. So this is what it's for. And all I want to ask you going forward is, please stay in the conversation, because the more that we stay in this conversation, the more that our students will benefit. And there's a big change that we are trying to make here. And the NTP has been very, very useful in catalyzing that, but it has to be an organic change, and it has to be led by tutors. And tutors have to say, we want to make a real difference here. And that's what this is all about. We're writing a book at the moment about bringing tutoring alongside and into mainstream education. And we're going to be exploding some of those misconceptions and preconceptions that Tom picked on a little bit. Tutors mean that you don't have to listen to the teacher. Tutors are, only for the most advantaged. All of those things that mean that tutoring has been sidelined until now, we will take apart and we will show the world of education, but also parents and students, that we are an important piece in improving the experience in education. So Adrian talking about how children need new ways to learn, and the one-size-fits-none model of teaching is just not enough anymore. And it is a lot, but it's only going to work when we pitch in as well. And so I don't want to overstate the vision, but it is an exciting time for us. And I'm really, really happy to be able to share it with you. Thank you so much for your participation. There is not a weekly task this week. There is instead an evaluation form. And that evaluation form, as you know, is part of the course requirement, because we're going to be asking you the same questions that we asked you at the benchmark. And we're going to be able to measure how much progress you feel you've made, which is really, really important for us. It's actually even more important for you. And so the opportunity to ask yourself that same question again at this stage is a marker for you in your own learning, because It's all about taking responsibility for your learning, isn't it? And so we wish you the best, and good night, and thank you, and we'll speak to you on the course space, on the community space very soon. If you would like to Twitter, we would be very grateful. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Everyone, you've been amazing. Thanks, Richard. Thanks, Iqra. Thanks, Kumudini. Thanks, Lakshmi.
Thanks,
Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kavya. Thanks, Tina. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Georgina. Thanks, Michal. Thanks, Kathryn. Thanks, Fiona. Thank you, Tanu. Thank you, Sija. Thank you, Michal. Who didn't I thank? Thank you, Adrian, and thank you, Ludo.
Thanks for listening to the Qualified Tutor podcast, where tutors share their expertise to support the tutoring community. If you'd like to continue the conversation, join our Qualified Tutor community at www.qualifiedtutorcommunity.org or find it in the show notes below. We exist to connect, share, and learn with you because tutoring is a small job that makes a big difference.